They should always be working harder. That's why your cash automatically goes into a money market fund when you open a new account. And Fidelity's rate is higher than E-Trade's, GD Ameritrade's, even 9 times more than Schwab's. Plus, only Fidelity has 0 account fees and 0 minimums for retail brokers and retirement accounts. Just another reminder of the value you'll only find at Fidelity. Open an account today.
With trusted protection for all-round confidence, Depend Silhouette Briefs feature maximum absorbency, beautiful colors, and an improved fit for a sleek
Okay.
personal style. Lifestyle. Be there with Depend.
Hello, Mr. Lou. Hello, Kay.
Hey, Mr. Bill, how are you, sir?
Man, if I got any better, we'd have to call the papers.
Hey, I love that Facebook short video going to Minnesota. Loved it.
Oh, yeah?
Challenge to Minnesota. There you go.
Yes, yes. I'm headed out there Thursday morning. So I'll be doing our last training on Thursday evening from Minnesota.
Oh, wow, that's nice. Yep, I'm going to be at the Orlando briefing, but I'll be taking my my Apple phone and my headset and kind of sit in the corner somewhere.
Got to do what you got to do. Everything's priorities.
Yes, sir.
Right. There's Mr. Melia has just joined us. Hello, Mr. Melia.
How you doing, Bill?
I'm incredible,
Good to see you, my
sir.
friend.
Thank you for joining us and your time tonight.
Oh, my pleasure, sir. I'm glad you texted me this morning. I didn't even know what day it was.
I got you back, my friend. I got you.
That's the hazards of a home-based business. All righty.
Guys, we got about 5 minutes. Lou, if you're talking to us, man, you're muted. We can't hear you.
Yeah, I was inviting some of my new associates with the invite that you just gave. So I want to make sure they plug in.
Okay, great. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure you knew. I saw you talking. I was like, well, if he's trying to talk to us, we can't hear him. 4 minutes, guys. 4 minutes. You know, Mr. Melia is serious when it's like 7 o'clock East Coast time and he's pouring a glass of water.
The call.
Right. That's serious business right there.
All righty, yeah.
All right, guys, 2 minutes. There's Jay. What's going on, DJ?
Living life, Mr. Bill. Hello, Mike.
Hey, Jay, how you doing, buddy?
Good, good, good. Ready to become educated. So you.
Oops. Turn that ring off.
Guys, we got about 1 minute. People registering, believe it or not.
I believe it.
Mr. Ron Schmidt with the Schmidt plan. See, Mr. Curry is joining us. Hello, Mr. Curry.
I got it. Is it okay if Travis joins us?
Sure, he was on last night.
Yeah, but he didn't register. He didn't know he needed to.
Oh, and he wasn't paying attention because at the end of the thing we said, here's the link to get registered.
Okay. No
That's the
worries.
first sign. But yes, he can still go register and join us. That's fine. He was on last night. This is why we want cameras on. He got on last night, didn't have camera on, so we didn't know what he was doing.
Hey, Ron,
Mike Melia, how are you?
doing good, partner. How are you?
Doing well, man. Thank you. And Mr. Geither, thank you. I was on mute when I first came aboard. I appreciate your service.
Yes, sir. It's my pleasure, man. We're just trying to go out and pay some of this knowledge forward that changed our lives. And you know, I'm leaving for Minnesota. I'm going to be in Minnesota this weekend, Ron. If you got some people, we're having a big event out there this weekend.
I know how to speak Minnesotan, and I see the Minnesota lakes in your background there. So
That is correct. Let's get some people out there.
yeah, sure, you betcha.
All right, guys. Well, I got 7 o'clock. Certainly there will be some other people that join us late, as always. And you know, the reality is we're going to lose a few. I had some people message me already today, and hey, you know, I'm not going to be on tonight. Can I get the replay? And no, that's not the way this works. And you know, we're doing this to, you know, it's commitment, right? Commitment is doing the thing you said you do long after the feeling you said it with has left you. And I understand that, you know, you have things going on and all that kind of stuff, but so does everybody else. And everything in life, guys, is priorities. Everything in life is priorities. And you know, the purpose of this and the way that we're doing this, these 5 courses, 1 hour per course over 5 days, is to help us, you know, develop that level of commitment that it's going to take in order to be successful. You know, if you can't make 5 one-hour courses to help you be successful, what makes you think you can be successful? I'm just trying to be real with you guys, right? I mean, you know, nobody's paying me. We're doing this for free, and I got you know, no reason not to be anything but honest with you. So, but we've had 2 great trainings. You know, we talked Sunday night about your why, and we talked a little bit more about it last night as we got on. And then Miss Kim Melia came on here last night and just fired it up. I mean, she laid it on the line about your mindset versus your skill set. And she did a great job. Matter of fact, she did an even better job last night than she did the first training last month. And I told her, not that the first one wasn't good, but she just killed it last night. So before we really get into tonight, you know, you guys all had some homework that Kim gave you. So I want to just open it up and see, did you guys do your homework, and what did you get out of last night's training and the homework that she gave you? Anybody? Just unmute yourself and start talking. Come on, anybody?
Afraid to fail.
Say that, Kay?
Don't be afraid to fail.
You have to be willing to fail, as a matter of fact. Exactly right. You know, what is it? Maybe I don't have the name right. The guy from IBM, Arthur Schopenhauer, maybe, is that his name? No, that's not the right guy. Anyway, the guy from IBM, they asked him, what do you attribute your success to? And he said, well, I doubled my rate of failure, right? And the reality is you can only fail so much, right? So that's good. Anybody else from your homework last night and from Kim's training want to speak up?
Yeah, the affirmations.
The affirmations. And there's a difference between an affirmation and a goal, guys. And last night, Kim talked about affirmations. Tonight, you're going to be talking about goals. And there is a difference in the two. They are very similar, but they're very different as well. So anybody else with any comments from last night in the homework?
Oh, Bill, this is Melanie. I really agree with the affirmations. And right after I was on your thing, I actually was on YouTube watching an Oprah inspirational thing. And it's so funny how when you're starting to be more, I don't know, It's sunk in exactly what we're saying. And one of the affirmations that she used, which I really like, that resonated with me, is saying to yourself, everything is always working out for me.
Oh,
And that just really, and she said it over and over, that impacted me. And that's definitely going to be one of my affirmations.
Absolutely. And on Monday night, I recommended that at some point throughout this course that you guys go on Netflix and watch the movie The Secret. I'm going to recommend that again if you haven't, even if you've seen it before. I mean, I've probably watched that movie, literally probably 30 or 40 times. And, about every 6 months or something, I sit down and watch it. I probably need to watch it again myself. But they talk about affirmations in there. One of my favorite ones that I use consistently came from that movie, that money comes easily and frequently. Money comes easily and frequently. And that's always been a good one for me. So good stuff. Anybody else with any comments from your homework last night and last night's training before we move on?
This is Monica. Sorry, I'm not feeling very well, so I'm not going to be on camera. But the big thing I got was it tied in with our church this weekend. It was talking about who you surround yourself with is like key. So, if you're hanging around people that aren't doing what they should be, then you're surrounding yourself with negativity. And I just thought, oh, that's a good point. And the fact that it was reiterated not once to me, but now twice to me within like a 2-day period, I'm like, maybe I need to reevaluate my relationships.
Absolutely. And the law of associations is so important that it's actually our final topic of the course. We'll be talking about law of associations on Thursday evening, and it really does deserve its own course because it is that important. If there was ever a shortcut to success, it's law of associations, in my opinion. So yeah. I see Mike Melia holding up a good sign there. So, all right, good. So, all right, good. So let's just get right into it tonight. Tonight's topic is setting and achieving goals. And guys, I'm going to tell you, this is something that that most people in life don't even do, right? They have a goal. It's like in their mind, it's something that they're thinking about, but they don't really set a goal, sit it down, make it clear, all the stuff that you're going to learn here tonight and really have it. And here's one thing that I've learned, and I'm not going to get too much into it, but, and I've learned most of it from the gentleman you're going to hear from tonight. I mean, I can't even begin to tell you how grateful I am to this gentleman for the things that he's taught me over the years. But one thing I have learned is that, a goal that's just a thought is really just a dream, right? It's not something that you're really working. It's just a thought. It's just something you'd like to have. Until you really get focused on it and write down all that stuff, it doesn't start to come to fruition and become a reality. So this gentleman is the best of the best. I mean, I don't know anybody that can do this training better than this gentleman. I'm so glad that when I reached out to him originally and said, hey, would you be willing to do this? I knew with his heart that he would be willing to. His schedule was another story, but he cleared his schedule up last month to do it. He cleared his schedule up again this month to do it. This gentleman is somebody that's been, a self-employed, an entrepreneur from way back in the 70s. He started one of the very first health food stores in the state of New York, which is still up and running today. He's Kim Melia's business partner. He was actually the foundation, Work, Play, Love, with the girls' orphanage that Kim talked about last night. This gentleman actually is the person that found that and brought that to Kim. Now, Kim really did grab the bull by the horns, not that her partners didn't, but she just really picked up the ball and ran with it, in my opinion. But he's the one that found it and brought it to him. He's built a very good life for himself. I mean, I know just a few years ago, he took off for 6 weeks with one of his sons and went over to Europe and traveled all around Europe and came back and said, Bill, it was great to go out and spend 6 weeks out there doing that and come home to find that I made more money while I was gone than I spent. That's the kind of lifestyle that we all want to be able to live today. He's just got so many accolades, but he also owns a seminar company teaching people some of the things that he's going to teach us here tonight. So I would really encourage you to get your pens on turbo, pay attention. Again, for those of you that don't have your cameras on, we do ask and like for you to have your camera on because that means you are in class, right? If you don't have your camera on, I know Monica said that you're not feeling well and you're maybe laying down. So, okay, fine. But the way we look at this here is if you don't have your camera on, it's like you just stepped out and went to the bathroom, right? Because we don't really know what you're doing. We don't know if you're paying attention. We don't know if you're getting it. We can't see your body language. And this is an interactive course, right? Mr. Melia will likely ask some questions. You heard Kim last night saying, hey, raise your hand for this or that, you know, and stuff like that. So if you can turn your camera on, please do. If you need to turn it off for a minute to run to the bathroom or do whatever, that's fine. But please, for the most part, have your camera on. So having said that, it is my honor, my pleasure to introduce to you guys one of my mentors, one of my business partners, one of my best friends in the whole world, Mr. Mike Melia. So Mr. Melia, over to you, sir. Thank you so much for your time this evening.
Hey, Bill, thank you. And yeah, just thank you so much for that very kind introduction, but also, you know, the feeling's mutual. That, you know, one of the great things about, I think, just about the law of associations that Bill's going to talk more about is you really start looking for associations that enhance your life. And you also work on becoming a person that does that. You know, in the conversation tonight's about goals and stuff and setting goals, and not just setting goals, but achieving goals. And, you know, when Bill asked me to speak, he made that distinction in the training here. It's not just setting goals, but achieving goals, because it's a mindset, right? Tim talked about mindset, but it's a mindset. Some people see themselves as setting goals, but they don't really see themselves as achievers. And so that's sort of a fundamental decision you want to make. You want to make the decision to be an achiever. You know, I will tell you that it was this time I'm sitting out here. When I point out that direction, I'm looking out at the Atlantic Ocean, and it's my new home. And for years ago, and this is like, I actually lived on the Pacific Ocean. Now I've lived on the Atlantic Ocean. I've lived a few blocks from the Atlantic Ocean before, but this time I live right on the ocean. And I bring that up because years ago, it was a goal I had. It was just a goal. I said, you know, if anything were possible, what would I do? You know, if anything were possible, I would love to spend some time living right on the ocean. And now, years later, that goal was manifested. And it wasn't a goal that was like, you know, it was just a goal I wrote down, and I didn't do a lot to make sure it happened. But when I was moving back to Florida over this past summer, I said, you know, what I really would love to do is find a place on the ocean. Started looking, and guess what? Seek and you shall find, right? I found a place. Because of my business enterprises, it was affordable to me. So, you know, when we talk about your business enterprises, we're talking about goals here, and I don't know where we find you. You might be an accomplished setter of goals already. That might be part of your practice, or you might be a novice at it. You might be brand new. So I'm going to just speak the fundamentals of the whole of the Gestalt goal setting and the achieving goals. So wherever you are, there's always more work to be done. You know, Monica said something that I think was Monica said she'd heard about now the law of associations 2 times in the last couple of days. And those type of things will happen. Bill talked about the film The Secret, and The Secret really goes into a lot of the law of attraction. How when you're paying attention to something, you find more of it. We all know this. You buy a new car, maybe, you know, you get a car that you haven't had before, or you decide to get a certain car, and all of a sudden you're seeing that car everywhere. Well, chances are the car was already passing you by, but now it's called the reticular activating system. Supposedly its home is in the medulla oblongata, which is back there. Now, I'm not a scientist in those realms, but I have made a study of achieving goals and also using your subconscious mind to attract those goals to you. Okay, so I'm going to talk about that. And the other aspect that in terms of achieving goals is when you set up your goals and you set up your vision and you understand it, you want to have it be like it all fits together. You want the different areas of your life and the different kind of goals you have fit together. So, for example, you know, you want to say you have a relationship goal. You want to have a healthy relationship. Well, you know what? In order to have a healthy relationship, there are other elements of your life that you want to have, you know, in sync with having a healthy relationship. You know, just so you get that. So that I'll say it this way: is that you want to become the person capable of achieving those goals. Jim Rohn, who's actually, ironically, he's passed away a few years ago, but today is Jim's birthday. For those of you who are not a Jim Rohn fan, you don't know of Jim Rohn yet. His last name is spelled R-O-H-N, and you can look him up on YouTube and places like that, you know, and he's an amazing, amazing instructor and teacher. He will help reinforce everything you're learning in this course. You know, I know that one of the things that, another topic here is personal development, and that personal development is what you do on an ongoing basis, what your practice is. And so here's what I know. In order to become a good setter of goals, you've got to practice. So what does that mean? It means you set your goals. You don't just set them once, put them in a drawer. You set them again and again and again. My brother Steve, in his book, 30 Ways in 30 Days, he talks about getting your day started right. And the practice he recommends is at the beginning of each day, you write out 10 to 15 goals. And lots of times you'll write the same goals day after day after day, or a lot of them, but you'll also, in doing a process like that, you're going to do what I call refine your goals. Because once you define your goals, then the next real step in the evolution of it is to refine your goals, okay? So I was doing, you know, as a result of doing this last month, Bill, the inspiration I got from it was a combination of an inspiration from my brother Steve, who did his 30 Ways in 30 Days. What he did almost 2 years ago now was he made the commitment to himself to go on Facebook Live every day for 30 days. And every day he came up with a new tip. And every day when he came up with that new tip, he had over time, he started having a whole series of tips, right? Then he turned the whole thing into a book. I thought that was brilliant. It's a great idea. But what I wanted to do after I did the talk last month, Better Life You, I thought, you know, I would really take my goal setting stuff to a next step. And I did, and I'm in the process right now. I'm 2 weeks into, and again, Bill, thank you, because inspired by doing this work right here. I'm 2 weeks into a course I'm doing, a live, Facebook Live every day for 2 weeks, or for 4 weeks, for 30 days, called Falling in Love with Your Future, okay? And why do I say that? Because the concept of falling in love with your future is really about being a goal setter and a goal achiever. It's about creating a vision for your future that you are excited about, that turns you on, because isn't that the real key to life, right? When we're excited about something, it's not onerous, it's not work. It's easy to do stuff that we're excited about. You know, one of the things that I say, and I borrowed this from one of my mentors, Jeff Olson, he said this, he said, if you can see the clarity, if you have a clear vision for your future, you can borrow from the promise of that future to do the work of today. You know, just like, you know, again, Melanie was talking about, she's just attracted a couple of different things to her. You know, same way happens here. As I was reading a piece online the other day, and it was interesting. It was, you know, like everybody wants, this is a different rendition of it. Everybody wants to go to heaven, but nobody wants to die. Well, it's not quite like this. And fall in love with your future, you can fall in love with your vision. Say you want to be a best-selling author. You want to write a book. Well, you know what? Lots of people want to write a book, but a lot of people don't want to do the work to write the book. And that's sitting down and doing the writing, right? I mean, Bill wrote a book. Bill wrote, you know, and he understands that, because wanting to write the book and even having the idea for the book, that's all exciting. But then you got to go on and you got to do the thing day after day after day until the book's complete, okay? But that's one of the keys to achieving your goals is commitments, doing the thing you said you'll do long after the spirit which you said it is gone. See, I can do a goal-setting workshop on a one-day workshop, and I can have people come out of there with a full list of goals of what they want to accomplish over the next 10 years, over the next 5 years, 2 years, 1 year. They can have those goals, right? Yet, okay, if they can have the goals, but the work of achieving the goals gets more mundane. Okay, it's not all, like, for example, you decide you can get in better shape, you make some real fitness goals, but then going to the gym or doing whatever the secondary work is, That's more difficult. So I'm going to talk today about, I'm going to introduce a new concept that I didn't introduce last time, and it's primary goals and secondary goals, okay? A primary goal is a goal that's really exciting to you, you really want it. Secondary goal are the steps, are the things that you do in service of the primary goal. So say you want to, like, you know, get to your primary goal is a fitness goal, and your strategy is go to the gym 4 days a week, 5 days a week. You wake up in the morning, you don't feel like doing it. That's where the secondary goal comes in, okay? A lot of that looks like discipline. The simple little things that don't seem to matter, but over time, that compound effect really matters. So let's back up a little bit and talk about this concept of creating a vision. All a vision is a fancy word for what you want. But when you create a vision and you encompass in that vision all the different aspects of your life, okay, you know, your work, your career, your business goals, if you have those things, right? Your relationship goals, your fitness goals, your health goals fitting right in there. Your fun goals, things that you do for fun. Maybe you got hobbies, you know, whatever it might be. But you encompass all the different aspects of your life to have, and you write your goals down in those areas, okay? Here's another exercise that I'm going to recommend you do. You're not going to be able to do this right here on this phone because we don't have enough time in this particular program right now. But imagine this. If you can imagine this for a moment, imagine that that time has gone by and you've lived a very good life and you're looking back from the end days of your life, and you're looking back and you've accomplished all the things that were really important to you, okay? So what you want to do when setting goals up is take that perspective and then write down the things. What are the things that you want to get done no matter what? What are the things that are so important to you to accomplish? Do you have things like that? Now, here's what happens sometimes. Sometimes people are not in the habit or in the practice of setting goals. They've sort of given up on it because they've got into the thought mode that what you want is not possible, okay? What I am going to recommend to you is to spend some time journaling, and I love having a journal. You know, I've been taking my stuff out of storage, and Bill, you like this. I got one box that's just full of journals from the last 25 years, right? They go back 25 years. I got a stack of calendars that go back 25 years. Those things are all good because you can look back and you can realize the journey you've been through and the steps you've taken to get where you want to go. Okay, so in looking at your vision in a holistic fashion, you want to write down to yourself, and again, this is going to have to be written, what's most important to me? What's next most important to me? What I recommend, if you're having a tough time doing that kind of stuff, get a journal, and at the top of a page, write, if anything were possible, I would, ... and then fill it in. And just write down, like just stream of consciousness, write down anything you might do if anything were possible. If anything were possible, my son is in Singapore right now. I travel to Singapore and visit my son and his kids and his wife, okay? If anything were possible, and again, this is brainstorming. Just because you're brainstorming doesn't mean you're gonna formalize on those goals. But for example, if anything were possible, I'd go to the Olympics next summer in Japan. I've never been to Japan. I've been to the Olympics now, and you know, when I went to the Olympics in Rio, it wasn't even on my goals, my list of goals of things to do, but I had an opportunity to go, so I went. And now that I've been to the Olympics, I want to go back, right? So the Olympics in Japan now see, your mindset might go, oh, that's not possible for me. And you might come up with all the reasons why it's not possible. What you want to learn to do is cultivate possibility thinking. Is when you see yourself telling yourself that things that you might want or you do want aren't possible, stop and challenge those thoughts. And ask yourself this question: do I know anybody else that's ever achieved a similar goal, either this goal or similar? Or, you know, has anyone ever achieved this goal? Because if someone's achieved it, it means it's possible. And so if it's possible for someone else, why not you? Now, here's what happens. Sometimes when we're starting out on the path of goal setting and achieving goals, it's so like we have to rearrange a lot of our subconscious mind in order to manifest those goals. Like you've got to challenge all that negative condition that says that's for other people, not for me. You know, I'm from Lowell, North Carolina. People from Lowell, North Carolina, they don't travel around the whole world. Guess what? They do. If we could find one person from Lowell travel the world, then here's what we know. It's possible, right? But we know this. People from every different walk of lives transcend the limitations of their circumstances and create the lives they want. So first of all, one of the things I want you to recommend, I want to recommend to you is that you start seeing yourself as a goal achiever. You can even do an affirmation for this one. I am a goal setter and I am a goal achiever, okay? And now, when you go back to this other exercise of looking down the road a bit and writing down your lifetime goals, you can back up a page and write down 5-year goals. Where would you be 5 years from now? If those are your lifetime goals, what would you want to do 5 years from now? And then back that up to a year from now. Where would you want to be a year from now? Okay? And one of the reasons I like looking down the road a bit is because sometimes if I just say, where do you want to be a year from now? You're going to limit what you want based on what appears to be possible sometimes. But if I help you take a look down the road, where would you be towards the end of your life if you accomplished everything you set out to accomplish? You know, and then you work backwards, you'll find that some of those goals that you had that are longer term can translate into milestone goals along the way. I hope that makes sense. Does that make sense? Yeah, okay, good. Okay, so let's shift gears a little bit. You know, you heard from Bill the other night about why, and your why is always going to come back into your goal setting practice, okay? And remember, and when I say that, I say goal setting practice. So you want to become a practitioner of goal setting, someone who practices it. When we practice, I was saying this at a call earlier today, practice doesn't make perfect, but here's what practice does. It brings confidence. Whatever you practice, you get better at. And so if you practice writing your goals down, and I like the way my brother has it, you know, for a while until you really become fluent in your own goals, you might want to wake up in the morning and put about 5 to 10 minutes aside to write down your goals, read over them, okay? Maybe pick 1 or 2 of those goals and visualize those goals. I love the visualization process. I'll tell you this, historically, almost every goal that I picked and then visualized on a daily basis over time, those goals have all manifested. It's crazy. I've also had other goals I've made just a list of, and I've never read that same list over again, and a lot of those goals have manifested. The more you set goals and then do what it takes to achieve those goals, the more likely, the better you become at both setting goals and achieving goals. In fact, you know, here's a subtle different change that happens over time, not overnight, but over time, as you become a goal setter, you start, and a goal achiever, you become more and more, have more and more positive expectancy to actually accomplish that goal. You know, when I'm working with my brother Steve, and he says, this is my goal, you know, he's done such a good job over time of achieving the things he sets out as goals, that as soon as he says it, I believe it. I believe, okay, it's gonna happen. So one time, for example, when we were first working on raising money for the orphanage, you know, the story there was I met the person on the airplane and I told Steve and Kim about him, and he was a volunteer at this orphanage, okay? We did all of our research and stuff, and they wanted to build a girls' home next to the existing boys' home. Well, we were in a conference call with about 25, 30 people when we were launching our fundraising efforts. And we just got a bunch of people together just so we could start somewhere. And the woman who was in charge of the project, who we had just met, her name was Diane. Diane says, well, we're looking to raise $72,000 to build the girls' home. We already have the blueprints, we have this, we have that. And now we were on a conference call, so I was in one place, Kim was up a few hundred miles away, Steve was a couple of thousand miles away, all in the same call. And Steve says, well, Diane, and Diane says, I'm going to appreciate whatever amount of money you guys can raise. And then Steve goes and says, Diane, we're going to raise it all. And I was like, whoa. Now, up until that moment in time, we had never raised more than, we had raised money for different things, but we had never raised more than $20,000 in a year. So now it was $72,000 in 3 months. But here's what happened. I was so convinced that when my brother set a goal, he was going to achieve it, and that I was, okay, well, that's the goal. That's what we're going to do. And then what do? We began with the end in mind, and we created a plan to achieve that goal. So there's going to be big goals, and there's going to be smaller goals, right? I'm going to recommend once again that you spend some time writing down a list of lifetime goals and backing it up to 5-year goals and backing it up to 1-year goals, and then goals by the end of the year, right? Where do you want to be by the end of this year? That's what I've been doing. That's how I've been working it. Okay, now I'm going to shift gears a little bit and talk about the practice of goal setting. Right? Emerson, a great philosopher, he said this: do the thing and you'll have the power. So set goals and you'll derive the power from that. Okay? Set your goals. Don't put off setting your goals. You can walk yourself through the process I recommended. Lifetime goals, 5-year goals, 1-year goals, goals by the end of the year, or you can sort of, evolve your own process. But here's the key elements in setting goals. Okay, it's a 6-step process. I didn't make these 6 steps up. I stole them from somebody who stole them from somebody who stole them from somebody. We call it R&D, rob and duplicate. But it really is I've traced these 6 steps of goal setting back to Napoleon Hill and his famous book, Think and Grow Rich. One time I was doing a lecture and I introduced this book, Think and Grow Rich, and a young lady sitting in front of me made this face. And I said to her, I said, what's with the face? She goes, I just don't like that. I said, well, which part don't you like? The thinking part or the growing rich part? Because, what's there not to like about it? But sometimes here's what happens. Sometimes in our mind, we get things mixed up and we think getting wealthy is bad. We think rich people, you might have had these things. You might have been raised this way, that wealthy people, they had to do something nasty to become wealthy. And the reality is that's not true. That is true sometimes, but usually not. Usually, here's where wealth comes from: serving as many people as possible. The more you serve, the more people you serve, the greater the wealth is you're going to get. One of my friends a long time ago said this to me. He said, if you can figure out a way, because if you want to sell to the classes, you'll live with the masses. But if you can figure out a way of selling to the masses, you can live with the classes. And of course, J. Paul Getty said, I'd rather have 1% of 100 people's efforts than 100% of my own. Okay, that's just the idea of leverage and things like that. But going back to goal setting now. Okay, so the more you practice setting goals, but 2 things will happen. You'll get better at it, and also you'll open your consciousness up, because your imagination is the limit here. Many people, their imagination gets stultified, and they see life like this. And this is what appears to be possible. Part of the practice of goal setting over time is you take these blinders, these shackles off, so to speak, and much more becomes available to you. Okay. Now that being said, you can start small and grow from there. So now here's the 6 steps of goal setting that I borrowed from Napoleon Hill. Number 1, your goal needs to be written down. Okay, needs to be written. Number 2, it needs to be specific. And what do I mean by that? It means that you'll recognize it when it shows up. It needs to be measurable. You can see it manifest. It's not vague. It's not hazy. Sometimes people keep vague goals, like I'd like to have more money, but it's not specific. You want to make your goals as specific as possible. Like a vague goal would be, I want to lose weight. Well, you know what? A specific goal would be how much weight you want to lose and by when. Okay, so that's the third element of goal setting. It's written, it's specific, and there's a time element involved. Now, that time element involved, it becomes more crucial the closer you get to the goal, right? You might have a goal as a 5-year goal, and you back it up to a 1-year goal, and when you're doing that, you're beginning with the end in mind, the 5-year goal, but then you're backing it up to where do you want to be along that line a year from now? Okay, and then where do you want to be 6 months from now? Where do you want to be 3 months from now? And that's sort of the process of evolving a plan, so to speak. Okay, so written, specific, a time element involved. Once you have those three things, then you start giving rise to a plan. Okay, you create a plan. You create a game plan to achieve that goal. When it's written and specific and there's a time element involved, those three factors really give rise to making a plan, okay? So when you have a plan, that plan that you create, the plan you create to start with is not the plan that's going to get you there. Your plan is a work in progress. Just like your plan is a work in progress, I'm going to recommend that what you do is see yourself as a work in progress. One of the ways that people hold themselves back is they hold things against themselves. They like, well, I've never done it up until now. Why would I expect to do it now? Or the last time I came close to achieving a goal, I screwed it all up. I self-sabotage. Whatever that dialogue is that slows you down and pulls you away from it, learn to identify it and then push it off to the side and say, I choose to have this goal anyway, okay? Anyway. So the game plan you're evolving is a work in progress. You're going to plan, do, and review as you go along. So if I've got a 3-month goal to achieve 3 months from now, and I back it up to where do I want to be in 2 months? Where do I want to be in 1 month? What do I want to be in 2 weeks? What do I want to be in a week? And that's the nature of building the plan. Okay, I hope that makes sense to you. Because when you bring it all the way back to the present, now the immediate steps start to manifest themselves. They become obvious in a lot of ways. You know, if you want to write a book, say, by the end of the year, you got 110 days to go. So you want to write a book, well, you know what? If you want that book to have, 200 pages, you need to write, at least for the first draft. If you're going to finish the first draft by the end of the year, you need to write at least a couple of pages a day, right? Okay, you could do 5 pages a day, and then you could probably, at the end of a month and a half, you've got your 100-page book. Now you can evolve. You can now go to the second realm, editing it and things like that. Okay, but that's process. Okay, and so when you're setting your game plan, you really are addressing the process. And as you set that process up, you're going to plan, do, and review. So say you have a goal that you want to achieve 3 months from now. You want to plan, do, and review at least once a week. I read it. I think it was in Think and Grow Rich. It might have been in another book I read around that time. I read it, but said that very wealthy people, or very successful people, because wealth and success are related but not the same. But successful people usually have a meeting with themselves at least once a week. I thought, wow, isn't that interesting? And I started doing that practice. Once a week, I would sit down with my book, with my goals, and I would just check and say, how am I doing in relationship to this goal? How am I doing in relationship to this goal? And that way, sometimes I find that, some things I'm letting slide a little bit, so I put in the correction. And that's, again, called plan, do, and review, right? And plan, do, and review. So you plan it, you do it, and then you review it, and again, that leads to planning it again, right? So Brian Tracy said this. He says, there's no wrong goals. Sometimes there's time frames that we're just not capable of. So when you're set a goal and you want to achieve it within a certain time, if that time comes and goes and you haven't achieved the goal, you have a couple of questions in plan, do, and review in there. Have I done my best? If you've done your best, you know what? You've done your best. No shame there at all. Your best just isn't good enough yet. But here's what I found out. If you continually do your best will continue to get better. So make it your goal, make it your standard to do your best or whatever you're doing. And if your best isn't good enough yet, you'll just get better at it, okay? So the fourth step there is generating a game plan with the recognition that the game plan is a work in progress. In essence, it's alive. Then the fifth step is understanding there's always a price to pay. There's always a price to pay. In order to go up, you have to give up. When If you do certain things, you can't do other things at the same time. And that's all well and good, but understand there's a price to pay. My friend Frank Coyne out of Charleston, South Carolina, Frank says when it comes to achieving your big goals and there's a price to pay it in full. Don't try to skirt around it. Don't try to find shortcuts, because a lot of what you're doing as you're achieving, particularly your bigger goal, a lot of achieving that bigger goal is putting the foundation in place. And a lot of that foundation is becoming the person capable of achieving that goal. And so when you're putting that foundation in place, you want to understand that the foundation is a lot of work. When you're building, when someone's building a building, you go to a construction site, you see a building going up, you know it's construction site, they're building something, you can go by there weeks on end and nothing seems to be happening, just a big hole in the ground. Well, they're putting the foundation in place. Once that foundation is in place, boom, that building goes up so fast, right? And so understand that it's the same way with yourself. A lot of your goals, particularly your bigger goals, are going to require internal foundation from you. And so be with that foundation. Understand that foundation needs to be built and needs to be strong. And you don't want to skimp on building the foundation, right? Just like if you were building a new home, you wouldn't want to skimp on the foundation. Your whole house could collapse. Not a good idea, okay? So 5 steps so far, right? Written, specific, time element involved, generate a game plan, recognize the price to pay. And then the 6th step is, I simplify it by calling it employ your subconscious mind. When you write your goals down and you read them over every day, you're planting those seeds in your subconscious. When you work on your own self-image, becoming a better person, you're working internally, you're doing internal work. I could write, literally could deliver a whole lecture simply on creating yourself, on your internal goals, the goals of becoming the person you want to become. I'll just give you a short course in a right in this moment, is write down a list of adjectives that you would like to describe you. Maybe they describe you already. Write down a list of the skills you'd like to have under your belt. For example, a long time before I ever spoke in front of a room or felt comfortable speaking in front of a room, I had a goal to become a public speaker. I didn't know why I had that goal. I just felt it. I liked the idea. I watched other people who were public speakers. It looked like it was a lot of fun. I was about 29, 30 years old when I started writing down the goal to be a public speaker. And initially, the first time I ever spoke in public around that age, I was doing camera work for one of my mentors who was doing a seminar, and I was the cameraman, and he asked me to go up in front of the room and just make announcements about lunch, where the restaurants were, this and that and the other thing. I'm standing in front of about 60 people, and all I'm doing is telling them how long we have for lunch and where the restaurants are, and my knees are shaking, right? I was so nervous. But why? Because I was, it was a brand new thing. I was out of my comfort zone. And you're going to find out that sometimes some of the goals that you write down are going to make you feel uncomfortable because they're going to challenge your comfort zone. I'm going to say write them down anyway, okay? Write them down anyway. Part of the whole process here is you're going to challenge your perceived limitations in order to achieve the things that are really important to you. You're going to challenge your, and listen to the word I said, perceived limitations. They're perceived. You made them up somewhere. You were taught those are your limitations. When we were kids, all of us, for most of us didn't necessarily have the best goal trainers around us as we were kids. And so lots of times we were taught to be practical. We were taught to, what do you call it? Just to settle for what appeared to be possible. And again, one of the subcontexts of my talk here is don't do that, okay? Don't settle for less. Here's what we know, and again, I'm going to double down on Bill's recommendation of watching The Secret. If you've never watched The Secret, some of these ideas that I'm espousing right now may seem like, wow, that's a lot. But if you, once you've seen The Secret and you've watched it a couple of times, you'll see how these ideas fit right into that concept. Because, you know, again, going back to my friend, my mentor, Jim Rohn, it's not what you get in life, it's who you become. And then who you become determines what you get. So when you have a goal that's in essence bigger than yourself right now, right? It's bigger than you right now. So you have to become the person capable of achieving that goal. But first it starts with the goal. You want to write it down. And I say, you know, have big goals. I read an interview a long time ago with Mick Jagger from the Rolling Stones. And I mean, I literally read this when I was I was probably a teenager. So it was the early 60s, the mid 60s or so, the late 60s. And it was just, it was crazy because it was like an interview with Mick Jagger in one of those teeny bop magazines. And I was a big fan of the Rolling Stones as a young teenager. And so I saw it, and Mick said this. He said, I sat down with the boys and we wrote down some goals. And our number one overriding goal was we wanted to be the best rock and roll band in the world. You know, and arguably they've been called that many times. But when he wrote that goal down, when he started with that goal, he was 20 years old. The gentleman's 76 years old now. He was 20 years old. You know, they were not the best rock and roll band in the world at the time. They were unknown at the time. And yet that goal was a big goal, right? So what are the big goals for you? What are the big goals for you? And I'm going to come back to step number 6 again, and that's employing your subconscious mind. How do you do it? You write your goals down, okay? You write them down, you read over them. You look at it on a daily basis. I used to take all my goals, and I put them on a 3x5 index card, and I put it in really small font back before when I could really read really small font. And I folded it up and put it in my wallet. And when I was, and this was in the early days of my goal setting, when I was like waiting online somewhere or doing something like that, I would take my wallet, I'd take my goals out, and I would read over my goals. And when I read my goals, you know, I would read them over and I would say yes to each goal. And I had some crazy goals that I came up with because I was encouraging myself to dream big. And I'm going to encourage you all to dream big as you're going through this process. Understand what you start with, number 6 in employing your subconscious mind, there's changes that you will make internally to be able to be the person that manifests those external goals. So when you have goals that are bigger than yourself, that's good. That's a good thing, because what it's going to demand you to do is to open your consciousness up and free yourself up from the limitation thinking that most of us subscribe to, or we're trained into, or enculturated into. And so part of what you're going after here is freeing your mind, freeing your ability to dream. And so I'm going to wrap up for now. Those are the 6 steps to goal setting. I gave you guys a lot. You want to digest it. You want to handle it. I'm going to turn over to Bill and see if there's any kind of questions he has or anything that he wants to do to finish us up. But remember those 6 steps. It's written. It's specific. There's a time element involved. Generate a game plan. Realize there's a price to pay. Be willing to pay it. And then employ your subconscious mind. Post your goals everywhere. Maybe get a dream board or a vision board. There's more things you can do. You know, Google stuff like that. But continue to be a goal setter and see yourself as a goal achiever. So Bill, over to you.
Mr. Melia, just fantastic. Guys, put your hands together for Mr. Melia if you got some good stuff out of that. And, you know, I can't really add anything. I mean, I want to contribute just some of my experiences from what he just said. You know, one of the things he said was number 2, right? Be specific. And guys, I can't even tell you how important this one really is. I'll tell you when I realized how important it was about 2 years ago. And I've heard this over and over and over again about write it down and make sure that it's very specific. And so for the last couple of years, up to about 2 years ago, the couple of years before that, I had written in my goals at the beginning of each year, I'm going to lose 100 pounds this year. I'm going to lose 100 pounds this year. Well, sure enough, year 3, I wrote down in my goals, I'm going to lose 100 pounds. Well, guess what? I lost 100 pounds. Okay. And you would think that we'd be happy about that, right? Here was the problem, is I didn't say how I was going to lose that 100 pounds, what I was going to do. And by writing that goal, the universe or God, whatever you want to call it, I got hit with type 2 diabetes, right? And it caused me to lose 100 pounds. So goals work. I mean, you know, when you watch The Secret, you'll see, you know, they have proof that there is an electronic pulse that comes from a thought, right? When you have that thought and you're writing those goals, I mean, it goes out somewhere, somebody answers it, and it comes back, it gets returned. You know, so make sure that you're being very specific about that. And when he was talking about employing your subconscious mind, this is just a little trick, and it's just a little insight for you. This is in my next book that's almost done, about employing your subconscious mind. Is when you write down your goals or your affirmations and stuff, one thing that I started doing years ago that's worked very well for me, and I've taught it and I've seen it work very well for a lot of others, is to record those in your own voice, right? Write them down and have them very specific and record them. And today, you know, you just grab your smartphone and hit the voice recorder app and record it, and then just listen to them over. I turn them on in the morning. I'll have them playing in the background. I listen to them at night when I go to bed, you know, and eventually what happens is your mind starts to just believe that. And if your subconscious mind believes it to be true, it just makes it true. It makes it your reality. So just a couple things, not to take away from anything that Mike has done there, just that I wanted to add to it from where he's done things that I've experienced there as well. So let's just open it up, guys. Does anybody have any questions or comments for Mr. Melia? You can just unmute yourself and start speaking. So any questions for Mr. Melia or any comments for him? Anybody?
Thank you, Mike. That was great.
Okay, that was from Monica. So thank you. That was great.
Hey, Michael.
In the beginning of the year, you got Bill and Mike, you both know about the disability I deal with. And last year, November 1st, I decided that I'm not going to take painkillers anymore. 7 years. And my goal was to make sure that by November 1st, I kept that. And I have. On Father's Day, I weighed 206 pounds, Bill. Did that by Jewish New Year, which is a week and a half away now. I will be at 185. I'm currently at 188.7.
Sounds like you got this, Jay.
I'm working on it daily, you know, and I appreciate everything. I've known Mike over 20 years. I'll tell you what he's telling you now, he spoke these exact same thing 20 years ago, and I've been doing it ever since.
Absolutely. The same thing. I've known him 19 years next month, actually. I've known Mike, and he's very influential. So anybody else with any other comments or questions for Mike before we move on? You ready to wrap this up?
Just Lou Alleman here in Orlando, Florida. Mike, thank you so much. Just like the gentleman that just spoke, I'm fully disabled. I use a walker, and I'm still a market leader in Orlando, and I still go to briefings, and I still go to trainings, and I still go to CDL, prospecting. And so, excuses are many, but I just want to personally thank you for your passion. I see that passion coming out of you, and it's so vibrant that it makes you a believer. So kudos to you, sir. Thank you so much.
Appreciate that, Lou. Appreciate it.
All right.
Yeah, I will tell you guys that it's a practice, and it's an orientation, and I'm gonna be doing more work about this. And but here's what happens is that most of us have learned, we're trained into reacting or responding to life stimulations, and what we want to do is become the creator of them. We want to see ourselves as the creative force. You're not like borrowing or stealing from God or anything like that. You're endowed with creative ability, and you use that creative ability to manifest what it is you want. Most of us have a real feeling inside our heart about in essence, a sense of purpose, if you will. And when we align our goals with that sense of purpose, there's a lot of power in that. And so, Bill, I really do appreciate your putting the Better Life You together, because I think you know, it's a brilliant idea, but even more importantly, it can help and impact so many people. You know, this information that we're sharing over the course of these days, you know, it's stuff that we learned over time, and it's benefited us. And so one of the greatest, and Bill, I know you'll attest to this, one of the greatest achievements I wind up, or one of the greatest thrills I get, so to speak, is when someone comes up to me and says, you know, I was on your goal setting course that Bill ran last January, and I wrote down these different things and this and that, and I just want to thank you because I've achieved these goals that I wouldn't have even set if I hadn't been influenced by you. Things like that matter so much to all of us. And for all of you, you have that effect on other people. You know, you do good every day and appreciate that and let that good come back to you. So Bill, appreciate you again, sir.
Absolutely. Listen, I appreciate you and thank you very much. And really that was the reason for Better Life U, is we just wanted to, you know, be able to go out and pay it forward, right? Give people these principles, these foundational principles that they can apply into their current day-to-day. No matter what they're doing, they can apply these principles into their current day-to-day to let them build a better life. I mean, if I had not joined the direct sales company that I joined and met Mike Melia and was still just I would not have these principles today. Okay, so tomorrow night, I did just put the link in to register for tomorrow night. I just put it in the chat. So you do have to register to join us tomorrow night and get the link to join us. Tomorrow night, we're going to be talking about personal development. And the trainer is going to be a gentleman that literally lives on Easy Street. I'm not even kidding when I say that. His life is, you know, he's built intentionally, right? He's the perfect person to talk to you about building your life intentionally and personal development. He's built a 6-figure a year income, and he's over $1 million part-time in his current business, you know, has a boat and lives out on the water. And I mean, it's just incredible story. His name is Chip Humphrey out of Florida. If you don't know who Chip is, he's going to be talking to us about personal development. But here's the thing I want to ask of you guys tonight. If you've enjoyed this so far, you know, I want to help anybody that's willing to get help. But there's other people out there that don't know that this is yet available. We just started last month. This is just the second one. So I wanted to ask you twofold. Since Mike didn't give you any homework, Mike, is okay if I give him some homework?
Sure.
Okay, here's your homework. I'd like for you to go into our Better Life U Facebook group. And I'd like you to post an honest post about what you think about this course. And the second thing that I want to ask you to do is I want to ask you to please start adding your Facebook friends to that group. There's about 275 people in that group right now. Okay, we're not going to take anything away from you. As you all know, when you registered, it asked blatantly in the registration who invited you to Better Life U.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we're not trying to take anything from you. We're just trying to reach the people. And if you add them, and here's the way this works. When you add somebody to the Facebook group, it doesn't automatically put them in there. They have to actually accept that invitation. So they're going to have to look at the group, see what it's all about, and then decide whether or not they want to be in there. If they accept the invitation, they come into the group, then the group and what we're doing in that group, when we're talking about, you know, what we're learning and what we're getting out of this and stuff like that and promoting the next one, they'll either accept or not accept the invitation to join us on the next one. Okay? But we don't want to be, you know, not giving them the information. So your homework tonight is to, if you're getting something good out of this course, is to go into our Better Life U Facebook group and make a post about it. And number 2, add your Facebook friends. Okay? More specifically, your Facebook friends that are not involved with you in your current business. I mean, you're welcome to invite your current business partners in, but those people have already been exposed to a lot of this, and they're welcome to come and join us. I'm not saying they're not, but we're trying to reach the people that haven't been exposed to this stuff, that don't know what we've been, you know, hearing in our, you know, in our businesses of going to seminars and stuff. So that's your homework tonight. Tomorrow night, get registered for that. Mike, anything else you can think of before we wrap up?
No, man, but just, you know, enjoy, you know. I'll say this, is that I came across this definition for the word enjoy a long time ago from a guy named Talbot Mundy. And it is, he said, the purpose of life is to enjoy life. And I thought, oh, that's, He goes, let me give you the definition of enjoy. It's to charge life with joy. It's to bring your joy to life. And I like that one, you know. So you bring the gifts that you have, folks. Nobody else has them. They're unique unto you. So you deliver your specialness, your uniqueness to the world, or it remains undelivered. And we want the best you got.
All right, fantastic, guys. So with that, everybody raise your hand if you got the link to register for tomorrow. I see some of you have already done it. Okay, all right, make sure everybody has that. Good, because we're going to wrap it up and that link's going to go away. And with that, we'll be back tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern, talking about personal development with Mr. Chip Humphrey. Everybody have a great night. Stay focused, and bye-bye for now.
Thank you all.
Mike.